Look at your toothbrush. Tiny, cheap, easy to ignore. But this small tool helped decide who looked clean, civilized, and safe to stand near. Here's the shocking part. A toothbrush helped shape the modern idea of a respectable face. This is not just a story about teeth. It is a story about status, smell, fear, beauty, and power. It changed health. It changed confidence. It changed love, work, and daily human distance. And the strangest part? For most of human history, people lived without the thing now sitting beside your sink. So how did a little brush become a daily law of modern life? Chapter 1. Origin. Imagine a man waking up before sunrise in ancient Egypt. The air is dry, the room is hot. He has no toothpaste, no plastic brush, no mint taste. He walks outside, breaks a thin twig from a tree, and chews one end until it turns soft. Now it looks like a small brush, then he rubs it across his teeth. That is one of the earliest mini-stories in this history. Long before modern toothbrushes, people still tried to clean their mouths. They used twigs, rough cloth, salt, ash, crushed shells, and strange powders. Some methods helped, some damaged teeth. Some were simply better than doing nothing. In many places, people used what nature gave them. In the Middle East, the miswak stick became common. It came from a special tree and worked surprisingly well. In China, people also cared about oral cleaning, but in a different way. By the late 1400s, there were brushes made with animal hair fixed into bone or bamboo handles. This looked more like the toothbrush we know today. But it was still rare. It was not a common item for ordinary people. It belonged to those with money, access, or habit. And that matters. Because in the beginning, cleaning your teeth was not only about health. It was also about control. Control of the body, control of smell, control of how others saw you. Stop for a second. A face is not just a face, it is a message. Clean teeth suggested discipline. A fresh mouth suggested care. Even early on, oral cleaning was becoming social language. But the first toothbrushes had problems. Animal bristles were rough, they held moisture, they could hold germs. The tool existed, yes, but it was still far from the modern daily object. And yet the seed was planted. People had learned something important. The mouth could shape first impressions, and first impressions could shape your place in the world. But one prison cell in England would push this idea much further. Chapter 2. The Rise. Now we move to 18th century England. The streets smell bad, water is dirty, cities are growing fast, disease is everywhere. And in this world, one man named William Addis is said to change the game. The story goes like this. He was in prison during the 1770s. He saw people cleaning teeth with cloth and soot. That means black powder from fire, not exactly luxury. So he drilled small holes into a bone, tied in bristles, and made a better tool. A simple idea, a huge result. After prison, he turned that idea into business. That matters because invention alone changes nothing. Production changes everything. A tool becomes powerful when ordinary people can buy it. And this is where our second mini-story begins. Picture a factory floor in the 19th century. Rows of workers, bone handles stacked in boxes, bundles of animal bristles sorted by hand. Steam in the air, noise everywhere, hands moving fast. Brush after brush after brush, not for kings, not for nobles, for the growing public, for the masses. This was the rise. The toothbrush was becoming part of modern life. Slowly, cities began linking clean mouths with decent behavior. A bad smell was not just unpleasant, it became shameful. That change was huge. Because now the toothbrush was not only a health item, it was becoming a social shield. Who wants to speak closely to someone with a foul mouth? Who wants to hire them? Who wants to marry them? That sounds cruel, but human society often is cruel, especially when it turns private habits into public judgment. A brush was becoming a passport. By the 19th century, brushing was growing in Europe and America, but it was still uneven. Many people still did not brush daily. Some could not afford brushes. Some did not believe in them. Some simply kept old habits. Then dentistry began to grow as a profession. Doctors started warning people about decay, pain, and infection. Printed ads pushed the idea harder. Clean teeth looked modern. Clean teeth looked respectable. Clean teeth looked like progress. And there it is again. the respectable face, not perfect beauty, not movie star beauty, just a face that seemed clean, controlled, acceptable. A face allowed into schools, offices, conversations, and romance. But this rise had a dark side too, because once society creates a standard, it also creates shame. And that shame would soon become a business. Chapter 3. The Dark Turn. Here comes the uncomfortable chapter. The toothbrush rose with fear. Fear of decay, fear of smell, fear of being judged, fear of being seen as dirty. By the late 19th and early 20th centuries, advertising became more aggressive. Companies were not only selling brushes, they were selling anxiety. They told people their breath could ruin love, their teeth could block success, their mouth could expose them as careless or low class. This was not always false. Bad oral health can cause real pain and real disease. But advertisers learned a brutal truth. Fear sells faster than facts. So the toothbrush entered a new role. It was no longer just useful, it became moral. A person who brushed was responsible. A person who did not brush seemed lazy, backward, even dangerous. Listen carefully, that is the dark turn. A health tool became a social weapon, and class played a big part. The rich had easier access to dental care. The poor often had worse diets, less care, more damage. Then society blamed them for the result. This happened again and again in modern history, not just with teeth, with clothes, with smell, with skin, with body shape. A simple habit becomes a sign of worth. That is how pressure works. That is how markets work. And that is how shame enters the bathroom. Then came another problem. Early bristles were often made from animals, especially hog hair. They could break, they could stay wet, they could collect dirt. So even while people believed the toothbrush meant cleanliness, the tool itself was not always clean. Yes, ironic, very ironic. Then in the 1930s, nylon arrived. This changed everything. Nylon bristles were more uniform. That means more even and controlled. They lasted longer. They were easier to produce on a large scale. Now the brush could be cheaper, cleaner, and more consistent. That sounds like progress. And it was. But mass production also made brushing easier to sell as a universal rule. One standard, one ideal mouth, one daily discipline. Brush in the morning, brush at night, smile, behave, fit in. The bathroom became a classroom. People learned that being acceptable required maintenance. And the toothbrush was now one of the teachers. But the world was about to change on a much larger scale. And war, strangely enough, would help spread brushing faster than ads ever could. Chapter 4. The World Changes. World War II changed many daily habits. This was one of them. Soldiers had to live closely together, very closely. Bad hygiene became everybody's problem. Military training pushed routines hard. Shave, wash, brush your teeth, repeat. Many young men who had never brushed regularly learned it in uniform. Then they came home, and they kept the habit, or at least enough of them did to change the culture. This is how massive systems work. A private habit becomes normal when institutions force repetition. Schools help too. So did dentists. So did television. Families started teaching children that brushing was not optional. It was basic. It was civilized. It was what decent people did. Think about that word, decent. Such a soft word. Such a heavy judgment. By the 1950s and 1960s, the toothbrush was deeply inside the modern home. Bathrooms changed. Mirrors mattered more. Morning routines became more organized. A clean smile entered the dream of the good life. House, Job, family, toothbrush by the sink. Then plastic took over. Handles became lighter and cheaper. Colors became brighter. Design became playful. Even children got their own versions. The toothbrush was no longer a rare tool. It was a household symbol, common, expected, constant. And yet, its power kept growing. Because the world was becoming more social, more urban, and more visual. More offices, more dates, more interviews, more close talk, more reasons to care about breath and appearance. Have you ever noticed how many modern moments happen face to face? A first kiss, a job interview, a school photo, a doctor visit, a meeting in a small room, a quiet conversation in an elevator. The mouth is always there, so the toothbrush stayed there too. Not dramatic, not loud, just quietly shaping outcomes. Here is the third mini-story. A factory worker in the 1950s wakes before dawn. He splashes water on his face, buttons his shirt, grabs the family toothbrush cup. He brushes quickly because the bus is coming. He may not think of it as history, but history is already inside the motion. A tiny brush, helping him enter the working world with one less social risk, one less reason to be judged, one more layer of dignity, and that matters more than people think. By the late 20th century, brushing was global. Not equal everywhere, not perfect everywhere, but widespread. The toothbrush had crossed class, language, and borders. And then something strange happened. After becoming normal, it almost became invisible. That is the fate of many powerful tools. Once they win, people stop noticing them. But today, the toothbrush still has secrets. And one of them is hiding in your morning routine. Chapter 5. Today's surprise. Today, the toothbrush seems boring. That is exactly why its power is easy to miss. It shapes your day before your day begins. Our final mini-story is modern. A woman wakes up late. Her phone is already buzzing. She checks the time. Too many messages, too little sleep. She walks to the bathroom, half awake. Water runs. Brush in hand, small circles, mint foam. 30 seconds pass, then 1 minute, then 2. She looks in the mirror, and something changes. Not magic. Readiness. She is still tired. Her life is still messy. But now she feels presentable, ready to talk, ready to go outside, ready to be seen. That is today's surprise. The toothbrush does not just clean, it prepares identity. It helps move a person from private self to public self, from bed face to social face, from human chaos to acceptable order. That is why it survives every new trend. Smart brushes came. Electric brushes came. Apps came. Dentists added timers, sensors, pressure warnings. But the basic act stayed the same. A handle, bristles, a few minutes, a daily reset. And here is the deeper truth. The toothbrush helped build the modern belief that care should be visible. You should not only be healthy, you should look healthy. You should not only feel clean, you should appear clean. That idea reaches far beyond the mouth. Skin care, hair care, deodorant, shaving, whitening, freshness everywhere. The toothbrush was one of the first tiny soldiers in that daily war. And yes, there are questions. Who benefits from these standards? Who gets judged hardest? How much is health? And how much is pressure? Those are fair questions. But even with all that, one fact remains. This little brush reduced pain. It reduced rot. It improved breath. It improved confidence. It changed how people stand near each other, how they speak, how they smile, how they enter the world. The toothbrush is not background. It is architecture. It helped build modern intimacy. It helped build modern work culture. It helped build the face we trust. So next time you brush your teeth, do not see a piece of plastic. See a tool shaped by prisons, factories, war, marketing, class, science, and shame. See a small invention that quietly trained billions of people how to meet each other. All that from something you can hold with 2 fingers. Funny, right? A tiny brush, a huge story. Ending. So the secret history of the toothbrush is not really about brushing. It is about becoming acceptable in a world that watches faces closely. It is about pain, progress, fear, and routine. It is about how a tiny object changed health and human distance at the same time. And maybe that is the strangest lesson of all. History is not only made by kings, wars, and empires. Sometimes history is made by the things waiting quietly beside the sink. So now I want to ask you one thing. Which secret history should we uncover next? The secret history of shampoo or the secret history of deodorant? Write A for shampoo, write B for deodorant.